So during the 1,000 years of peace, when it talks about a new heavens, that is going to happen when the sun changes, when it makes a transition, when it expands, or when it changes to burning 7 times brighter than what it is now. When that shock wave happens and that shock wave shakes the earth, it's also going to change the orbit of the earth. And when the orbit of the earth is going to change, we're going to see the stars in a different nightly pattern. So the heavens of the new earth during the 1,000 years of peace is going to change. Okay, and getting back to the change on day one, when the sun makes the transition from what it is now to what it will be, the one burning 7 times brighter, not only will there be a shock wave that changes the face of the planet, that changes all the continents, but once all that is done, there's going to be a heat wave that follows the shock wave. So first there will be the great earth shake that shakes everything that mankind has built and knocks it down, and it will change the continental face of the planet Earth. But following the shock wave will be the heat wave that comes, and the Bible tells us that the heat that comes there, the fire from God, is going to burn the entire face of the planet. The hills will melt like wax, which could be a number of things. Either the volcanoes from the world over are going to be spewing out all their magma, all their lava, and that is what looks like melted wax. That is going to change the continental face of the planet. But also, I believe the heat wave that comes from the new sun is going to be so intense that it's going to basically melt all the iron and all the metal deposits in the mountains. So the mountains themselves will look like wax. The heat will be so intense. And not only will that heat be intense enough to melt the mountains, but it will be so intense that it will burn off all the radioactive pollutants on the face of the planet, and it will burn off all the pollution that's in the air. So God is basically going to be starting off a whole new planet by burning everything in a refiner's fire. And if you've ever lived near a forest and you've seen how yucky the forest looks after a fire, it does look yucky. It does yucky. It does look awful, but at the same time, you know that within a matter of months, the new life starts to spring up, and within a year, you can still tell that there was a forest, but eventually, the green comes up, and the new trees come up, and the new grasses come up, and eventually, that old forest becomes just a faded memory with just a few reminders that there was actually a forest fire there. But when the new life comes up on the new earth, eventually we won't even remember that there was an old earth. All the ruins from our society today are going to be just that. They're going to be ruins, and they will eventually be grown over with new plants and new life that comes out of it. And so not only, let me check my notes, not only is there going to be a whole new landscape, but there's going to be a whole new life forms. And I've talked about this on some of my other videos. Basically, I believe what's going to be happening is, since a lot of the animals will have been killed during the tribulation period, and a lot of the life in the oceans are going to be killed during the tribulation period, I believe God is going to be recreating life on the face of the planet, recreating a lot of animal life, recreating a lot of life that's in the ocean. So not only will we be able to see all the extinct animals come back to life, but I believe he's going to recreate a lot of the animals that disappeared a long, long time ago. And I'm talking about dinosaurs. And yes, I believe dinosaurs will be around during the new Earth. But, and I've mentioned this in another video before, we know that the Bible tells us that the lion, the leopard, and all those hunting animals, they're going to have a new nature. They're going to be eating grass like the ox, like the cows. So the predatory nature of cheetahs and leopards and lions and tigers and stuff like that, they're going to have a new nature. They're going to have a new metabolism. They're not going to be flesh eaters anymore. They're going to be vegetarians. And yes, they will still have their long, sharp teeth. If you look at bats, bats have sharp fangs, but they're vegetarians. They don't eat meat. So just because you have long, sharp fangs doesn't mean you have to eat meat. So we know that in the new earth, the animals are going to have a new metabolism. And I believe that will be the same thing when our Heavenly Father recreates dinosaurs. Just because they were meat eaters in the past doesn't mean they will be meat eaters in the new earth. I believe we will see exactly what they look like, what raptors look like, what a T-Rex looks like, and all the other dinosaurs. We will be able to see them wandering around in the earth in various places here and there. Because we know in the Bible, it tells us that during the new earth, that the knowledge of God is going to be present. Not only will we be learning things of God, having His knowledge and whatnot, but I believe the Bible, when it says the knowledge of God, it's talking about how people on the earth are going to know that God is present. It's no longer going to take faith to know that there is a God in the universe. That knowing that He's around is going to be as obvious as knowing that there's going to be air there, is knowing that there's going to be plants there, knowing that the sun is going to rise and the sun is going to set. People during the 1,000 years of peace will know that there is a God. No longer will mankind need faith to believe that there might be a God or that there could be a God. People during the 1,000 years of peace will know that there is a God. The knowledge of God will be there during the 1,000 years of peace. And so there will not be the kind of food chain that there is now. So animals will no longer need to kill animals, and the human beings, the flesh and blood people, will not need to eat flesh in order to survive. They will more or less become vegetarians. And we of the regenerated nature, we who are ruling and reigning on the planet, will not need to eat, but we can still enjoy the taste of food too, because the Bible tells us that the vegetation and the agriculture that happens on the new earth is going to be completely amazing. That when the last of the harvest is coming off the field, the new growth is just appearing. So the whole nature of the planet and its growth cycle is going to be so amazing, and fruit is going to be so much bigger. Vegetables are going to be so much bigger and so much healthier because they're not being fed by an atmosphere and rains that have pollution in them, and they're not going to be corrupted by people who genetically alter vegetables and food for selfish or corrupt or greedy purposes. God is not like that. So the new earth is going to be one that is actually helpful to people. The new earth, in its daily cycle and its yearly cycle, is going to look after people. People won't have to worry about being cold at night. The air will be warm, and they won't have to worry about animals attacking them at night because animals will no longer be afraid of people. The curse that was brought by Adam and Eve that separated man from animals is not going to be there. So animals will be able to communicate in their own way with people. And who knows, maybe like we've seen in the past with Balaam's donkey and with the snake, animals will be able to speak English or speak whatever languages that will be allowed, and we'll be able to communicate with them. As we see on YouTube, you can see a lot of animals that are able to vocalize in such a way that it does sound like they're saying English words or saying words in a language that is very unanimal-like. So we have no idea exactly what the animal life is going to be like, but we do know that it's going to be friendly and it's not going to be dangerous. And in terms of the new growth that's going to be happening, in terms of vegetation and whatnot, I believe that the natural flesh and blood people, as well as ourselves, we have the regenerated nature, we will still get to enjoy the recipes that we've made over the past 6,000 years when it comes to making something with meat. But we won't be killing animals in order to get that same texture that comes with meat, with the same flavor that comes with meat. I believe when God recreates the new life, not only will there be new animal life, but I believe there will be new kinds of plants. And I believe there will be a new plant that has the same fibrous texture as meat. So there could be something that is like a meat tree or a meat plant that when you cut it open, it has the same texture and the same feel as steak or chicken, and it could even have the same kind of flavor as various kinds of meat. But anyway, because there'll be a new kind of meat plant, we can cook it up the same way that we could steak or the same way that we can chicken right now. So all our chicken recipes, all our meat recipes that we've invented will not be lost. We'll be able to recreate them with the new meat plant that is created during the 1,000 years of peace.